Thank you for joining us. We're launching into session 2 of our Worlds Without Number Rising Sands, the secret of the Rising Sands. This will be session 2. Will it be the last session? I don't know. You'll have to stick with us and see what happens. Exciting. We're going to get started right away. Right before we get started, we were just reviewing, just for everyone here watching this, there's a component to the Worlds Without Number rule set that is an important component, we feel, and it's we're trying to figure out how to role play this, and it's the shock damage. And we were just going through that. So if you, in the course of this game, if it does come up and we mention this, we've mentioned shock, that's something that we can talk about afterwards and explain. I can even show the rules as to what that is, but I'm not going to do that now. And once we get started, I am absolutely not going to be reading the rule book. So we'll get started here. Any questions before we go? We got Rick as Alaric, the High Mage. Rick, the 28 millimeter RPG. Also here, Phil the Thrill playing Maruk, the desert fighter. Well, I wouldn't you can call it a fighter. That's kind of doing you a disservice. You're more than that. And then Max with Polvinus, a holy warrior of a different type, with his spirit animal.
Horatio.
What's his name? Horatio. Thank you. I better remember that. All right. Before you is a lush oasis. Water still rippling from a pool where just moments earlier, a waterfall had cascaded down a large stone structure, a ziggurat, a stone pyramid, easily 5 stories tall. The water is just a trickle now, whereas before it was cascading down. On the ground, blood-soaked bodies, torn asunder by some very violent means, laying there, weapons broken or discarded. Palm trees tilting in towards this large, crystal clear pool of water. A holy oasis, not just any oasis. A Subasa, one of the oases that are sacred to the people of the Najm Desert. On the stone pillar, their stone ziggurat, at the top, a figure stands, arms raised high, as a column of blackness, perfect void, rises from the top of the pyramid. His hands holding as wisps of smoky shadow emit from them. At his side, a large figure stands. The ground starts to rumble. And the wind begins to howl as this void shooting up from the ziggurat pulls in the light. Sand begins to whip in, ripping through the fronds of the palm trees, which now sway violently in the growing storm.
Such power!
Yes, it is immense.
Standing there, shielding my face next to the other 2 members of my party.
I pull my horse closer to Alaric and I pull my sword. So this is your colleague. You want to try to talk with him?
I'm not sure if there'd be any reasoning to him at all. Think, if I cannot best him, I want you to proceed to go ahead and do what you can to close that rift that is occurring there.
We'll need you, mage.
100 feet away, the water becomes turbulent with the wind howling in, seemingly from every direction, sucking in towards bits of sand getting whipped up over the surface of this stone pyramid. A howl of wind and a tearing sound, like fabric of reality bursting. 500 feet away, pieces of the ziggurat, the stone pyramid, start breaking away. A fell howling on the wind.
Let's move in quickly. I start proceeding down, moving along as quickly as I can between all the fronds and everything. Make my way through.
Just with my eyes wide, watching him, and I say, "What hope do we have against this madness?" Put my hand on the horse, try to steady her.
Let me recruit some help, Maruk. And I let my horse go. I move to the nearest corpse. I lean down, put my hand on it, and I say a little prayer. I say, "Oh, great mother, let me borrow this flesh to protect us from this evil." And I raise the corpse.
The body slowly gets to its feet, standing at attention next to Pulvinus. Horatio. Oh, he smells worse than the rest of you. And then Horatio starts pawing at its eyes. It's sand everywhere. A crack as one of the palm trees splits in half, splashing into the oasis water. The clothing of this risen warrior matching the garb of the group that was met earlier in the secret caves in the deep below. One of the fallen protectors.
Protect Alaric, protect the mage. And I move toward
Nods.
the mage as well, as fast as I can, trying to stick with him.
I
Moves.
grab the reins of Mirage and walk to the side to try and get some shielding from the buffeting winds and debris. Keeping my eyes on Alaric.
I quickly take my horse's reins and flick them around the branch of a tree, of a tree along the side, and continue on, making my way, getting closer and closer towards the offending. What would we call him? The mage I oppose.
Fell sound on the wind, chanting. Bodies lay around. The new servitor bends down and picks up a blade, a few nicks in its edge, and stands next to Alaric, guarding him as he moves.
Continue on, getting closer and closer to my opponent, Sultan's mage.
Alaric, what would you have me do? As I hold on to the reins of my Mirage.
I turn, I say, "Come, defend me!"
I'm moving on Alaric as well. I'm trying to stay like one step ahead of him as much as I can. So if any blow it come to me before him.
Horatio keeps whining, complaining about the sand. It's intolerable. The base of the pillar, or of the stone pyramid, now at your feet, vibrates with energy, shaking.
Put a piece of sheer linen across my eyes and pull out a small vial, begin to coat one of my or a couple of my throwing knives as I prowl towards Alaric through the debris.
I move closer and closer, trying to get within the range of my spells. Get good sight on the mage himself as he's conjuring up this monstrosity.
Somewhere far above, 5 stories up on this stone pyramid, as sand continues to be drawn up all edges, at all corners and sides of this this pyramid, more cracking sounds as palm trees are snapped in half. The horses skittish.
What's happening, Alaric? What's going on with this sorcery?
I think he's going to create a rift into something else here. But who knows, really? Keep on heading up, my hands forwards, getting ready to cast a spell as soon as I can see the cretin before me.
I go
Swirling
stand shoulder to
sands.
shoulder with Paul Venus, and I say, "Aren't they companions, sir? Can't he talk to them? Or is
I
it
think this is
violence?"
long done. There's been a rift between the two factions, between the two in the faction of the mage, the Eye Mage. I'm feeling the wind like in the sand blowing on my skin, my cold flesh like allowing me to be unbothered by it.
The dead warrior stands at the ready at Alaric's side.
Keep on bearing forwards, putting my cowl in front of my face, bearing this battery of sand and debris in the air. I continue on trying to make it through up the slope of the pyramid.
The pitch of the pyramid is rough. It's stepped up. Go ahead and roll a skill to climb that. With dogged determination, the undead servitor claws its way up, following you. Success. You hit the first step of these 5 steps up. Above this howl of wind, the sand gathering into this blackness. From this angle, no person is seen at the top, but someone must be there. There's sound. Horatio says, I can hear them.
Can you go have a look, Horatio? Go, can you fly in that weather? Go see around.
Fly? He hops down and then, using his cat-like grace, darts up the pyramid. Soon lost within the swirling sands.
Fly? Rubs his hands together, grabs his companions from either side. Come forth, brothers, we will fly. Casts the unfettering of the gravitational pull of the world no longer is bound to us. Come, brothers. And I start ascending up towards up the slope. Come.
I'm floating alongside him, kind of kicking my feet, going, whoa!
Urge yourself forwards.
Try to get a grip like I've been here before.
I propel myself. I try to maintain a semblance of grace in the whole thing and dignity.
Buffeting winds, driving you up the side, soon accelerating you as you get higher along the sides of this pyramid. But the wind is pushes into the pyramid as well as up, keeping you close by. There's a large sucking sound. Behind, the water of the oasis drains. Sand comes pouring in.
Set my sights on the mage, looking for him through all the debris and the misery of being battered by this sand.
Keenly aware of the wind being drawn into this dark energy pillar, I say to myself, you are not the Dana Radi. And I try to exert myself in some unknowable way to will my body away from this rift.
Mental state.
Sorry.
Polvinus.
I ascending the remaining the pyramid, which much more ease now that I'm like floating and being pulled by the wind, which is kind of convenient, accelerate the thing. But then I put my feet back on the ground and I yell, "I mage, show yourself!"
At the top now, being driven up by your sudden weightlessness, bouncing along the side of this stone pyramid. Horatio, his claws out, gripping to the stone at the edge, his head down, ears back, his eyes looking just over the top. A man stands, his hands outstretched, wide, blackness drawing around his hands, feeding into this void of this column of perfect blackness that is sucking in everything around it. Standing, he faces this black column, this void of all light. At his back stands an armored figure. Where the heck are you, armored figure? The armored figure, fully clad, head to toe, eyes glowing yellow, the armor rusted, and on a massive blade, blood still drips. He stands there, weapon at the ready, his back to the mage.
The unable to control my direction, seemingly, as I'm being drawn into this pillar. I say a quiet prayer to myself. My journey continues, and just allow myself to, or resign myself to my fate, shutting my eyes. Or keep my eyes open. Keep my eyes open.
The Polvinus.
Yeah, I take a quick peek over my shoulder, seeing if the corpse is still following around. And I say, "Mage, stop what you're doing right now and explain yourself, or we'll put an end to you."
The howl of the wind is louder at the top. Horatio hisses. Alaric, a familiar face, turns just side from what he's doing. His skin a pallid, sickly hue, slightly scaly. He smiles. Boy, you're too late. He throws his hands up again, and blackness streams from him. He opens his mouth wide, his head
And I
craning back.
snap my fingers to cause the conjunction of the exonerable step to teleport him away half a mile.
He disappears.
He's gone.
There is only you to be resolved, Dark One, as I point to the armored person.
The mage no longer there. The blackness stops and then shrinks down to a single point right behind this armored figure. stands there, full helm. He turns. No one behind him. Takes one step towards Alaric. Raises his blade. Horatio
So-
hisses.
Suddenly, the encroaching blackness disappearing, I regain my senses a moment and more control over my body. Pull out that dagger and chuck it down onto the aiming for the junction between the neck, or the junction of the arm between the helmet and the shoulders.
Failure.
Deflecting off of his shoulder pad.
It
Meaningless.
bounces harmlessly. Polvinus.
I make a quick step to position myself between Alaric and the armored figure, the closest one to him, and I strike at him with my long sword, trying to get like just right under the helm. That's 20.
Success. The blade catches this armored figure. Some of its power absorbed by the clipping its pauldrons. Roll damage.
Nine.
It stumbles slightly, then quickly moves to the attack. Its great sword flashing with alarming speed. Inhuman speed. It slashes out at Polvinus, catching him.
Yeah.
The great sword slams into him. The cold blade draws blood. The damage is intense.
How much?
That'll be 10 damage. The blade hits you and opens up a fearsome
Big
wound.
gash. Yeah. Polvinus see the big gash opening him, like the blood pouring out. He coldly look at the wound, unflinching.
The
I cry.
undead servitor leaps forward, putting himself between Alaric and this warrior.
I cry out, "No, Polvinus!" And I conjure up a spell out of his rage and madness. The scurrying coffin energy rises out of his hands and he envelops the opponent before him. $26, half if he saves.
The warrior's blade comes up. He deflects some of this magical energy away. Still, it drives him back 2 steps, closer to this hovering ball sphere of perfect blackness. Rends in his armor now visible.
I fly around to the other side and dive down into him with my unsheathing my scimitar.
Success. The scimitar finds a weak part in the armor. Roll damage.
The poison blade slices across one of the cracks in his armor. For 13. It's a physical save also.
He reacts,
For half
moving around,
of the time.
one hand falling from the grip of this massive greatsword. He swings around, spinning to catch all within his reach. The greatsword moves with such speed, it catches all, save Alaric, for 8 points of damage. Shock.
My close combat training enables me to duck out of the way of the shock damage.
The wind of
Reflecting
the
it with the
passing
scimitar with
blade, dangerously close.
The ancient techniques passed down.
And my resistance, my cold flesh, like barely alive. Make me absorb, like, ignore most of that as well.
The undead servitor, standing as a guardian to protect Alaric, does his final act, taking the blow, splits him right in half at the waist. He hinges back, unmoving.
I come back with my sword to like big strike, trying to decapitate this guy, hitting like right at the neck, like just at the junction of the helm. 421.
Success.
Another 9 damage. And as my blade find a little niche, a little gap in the armor, there's a red mist coming out from it, and some of the wound that I took start closing it a bit.
The blade driven down into this creature, this armored man, has done something. His breastplate wrinkles, the metal creaking loudly as it caves in. There's a flash of light. An empty helm falls on the ground. Sand pouring from it. The spinning sphere of blackness remains, hovering 3 feet above the top of the ziggurat. The sucking sound below completes as the last of the water in the oasis is pulled underground. Palm trees topple. In the stillness from the gale force winds, the sand begins to fall like rain. Faintly. And then nothing.
Alaric, what do you know about that? And I point with my sword at the sphere.
I look it over. Any signs of marks, ruins, using his arcane lexicon.
The sphere sucks in all the light around it. It has a rotation of some sort. Dust circling around it like it spins. The size of a large grapefruit. Spinning.
If I had the books that he conjured this with, I would know, but no. This is unknowable to me. I have still yet more to learn.
Take a piece of my the linen around my face, I unwrap it, and as it waves in the wind, I stick one end into the sphere. Just a field experiment to see what happens.
Sticks to the sphere, to the surface, disappearing within.
And then try to pull it back out.
It tears. The tensile strength of the fabric not enough to resist the pull of your strong arm and the sphere. With a flash, the torn piece, not in your hand, disappears into the sphere.
I
On
turn
the
toward
ground,
Maruk.
at the top of the ziggurat, symbology. Horatio stands looking at it. Pulvinus,
What is it, my
Look.
cat?
these symbols. He paws at the symbols, pawing some of the
Closer to it.
sand out. It
I
looks
dusted it
similar
with
to
my
the
glove. I lean over. I examine them, thinking about my my religious studies.
symbols, Horatio says. Like some of those borders of the books that you read, your prayer books.
They are ancient symbol.
But over here, the cat walks over in front of Alaric. Look at this. Cat looks back at, paws at the symbols again. The stone is marred, blackened, broken, interrupting the symbols that make a circle around where this ball rotates, suspended in air.
Alaric, come see this. It might be of interest to you.
Interesting.
I look at the two men. I look back down at the base of the pyramid, the now destroyed pyramid, ziggurat. I say, the Tsubasa is destroyed. I must tend to the men. And I just, without response, begin to climb down towards the corpses.
Horses whinny nearby.
Ponder over the glyphs and everything, absorbing what I can from it, using effort. Such a strain. Concentrates on the runes and everything. See it all spelt out before him. What is this?
The
I
entire
take out my
surface- Oh, go ahead, please.
I take out my prayer book that is in my bag in that I have on my backside, my lower back, and I flip the page until where I can select the similar symbol as Horatio pointed out. Put the book on the ground next to it, next to the circle, and I show it to Alaric. You see, this series there has been interrupted, like a seal that has been broken. You think if we recreate the seal that we could contain this thing?
Not sure. Maybe a counter magic can be employed here. Starts looking through the ruins and devising a plan to counter it.
The glowing eyes, as Alaric expends effort, examines this. There's a glow on the sigils still on the ground, but it fades quickly. A black mark where the circle was broken. And at the center where that sphere is, nothing at all. Like staring into a singularity, nothing. Maruk.
I take my step off of the steep incline of the ziggurat and make my way solemnly towards the corpses. Upon reaching the first one, I reach down and shut his eyes and begin to put my hand around his neck and pull out a unexpectedly colorful sash. Hand on the own hidden beneath my collar.
Indeed, one of the Nakabashi.
And I do the same with the rest of the men.
Many are half
I intend to.
buried in the sands.
Oh, Paul Villas, we must devise a plan upon this. It won't be long before our sorcerer friend returns, if he decides to make haste towards us. I've only displaced him, only not outside the caves for now.
What should we do about him? You think he's gonna come back? Should we go at his or he's gonna run to his master?
No idea. It's been years since I've seen him.
I rubbed
But
the sigil that's been like broken, burned off. I rub it with my glove. Do you have a piece of chalk, Alaric, or something?
I have my writing tools. He pulls them out from his satchel. Here. What do you
Writing
devise?
tool. I study my book, looking at the symbol, trying to figure out the one I'll be missing. Should I try to complete the circle? Without the proper incantation, I'm not sure it's gonna do anything.
How about
start writing.
if we recite the what has already been done backwards? I start tracing through the ruins, reciting each one in reverse. Sigma, Lorium, Ufastor, Guspata, Nomota.
Get a prayer skill check from Paul Venus, please.
Yes.
And a magic skill check from Alaric. Success, Paul Venus.
14. Whoa.
Success. The signal,
Flutter.
the sigils glow. Your eyes, still sensitive to the presence of magic, flare blindingly. Bits of arcane energy arc between the rebuilt sigils and this sphere of void. It plays over the surface of the void, crackling. The electricity is arcing. Horatio yelps in alarm, jumps over onto Paul Venus's shoulders. The whole
quickly
of
stand
the
up.
ziggurat starts to shake again as the sphere slowly descends towards the surface of the stone pyramid. The vibrations increasing by the second.
Hold on! Hold on! I take
I'm not going
grip
to
of-
hold on, Horatio says, jumps down from your shoulder, and the cat darts, its tail low, its ears back, racing
Good.
down the surface of the vibrating stone pyramid.
Alaric, I think the cat's got the right idea.
No, we must make sure that this is done properly. You go. You go.
I won't let you behind, Alaric. Like, I am here to protect you.
Shakes his head. Ah,
The black sphere now drops. It's accelerating, speeding up, maybe a foot above. Now energy arcing from the surface of the stone all over the top. Evasion, Alaric. Evasion, Paul Venus. Maruk, a light show starting at the top of the stone pyramid. Arcane energy flashes. A cat, black cat, comes racing down the pyramid. Pieces of it now falling.
ooh.
Failure. Failure.
Mm-mm.
I'm in the middle of
Sorry, 17?
Success.
Success? Okay.
You have to roll under the.
Oh, it's rolled. My apologies. Okay. Success. Both of you.
Oh no, you're right. You really need to roll above. Sorry, my mistake.
Okay.
Above.
Yeah.
Damn.
Electricity
failure.
snaps around the static building and the air around you, launches both of you off the top of the stone pyramid. Roll physical as you slide down the top of the pyramid, down the sides. You can see 2 feet Maruk, two figures falling off the stone pyramid.
I'm yelling.
I'm in the middle of stashing a number of colorful scarves into a saddlebag, and I make a fast break for the base of the pyramid to see if I can break one of their falls.
I'm trying to figure out, like as I fall, I'm trying to figure out if Alaric's spell on me for the teleportation, for the floating, is still active.
It bounces. You bounce down, skidding on the rough stone surface, landing on the second tier of the stone pyramid, the stone ziggurat. It's not smooth down the side, but instead is stepped. Land somewhat winded. The total amount of damage, 9 damage. 5 damage for Alaric.
What's happening up there? I yell up to the top after I lose sight of them on that
Take a second.
step.
I get up. I go see Alaric, offering him a hand.
I'm good. I put my hand up and grab onto him.
Horatio runs over to your side, Pulvinus. You okay? You should learn to land on your feet more.
Well, maybe you should give me a private lesson sometime. Let's get moving. And I start heading down the pyramid, like grabbing still holding on Alaric's hand, pulling him with me.
I'm not sure if we've won or lost. I don't know, he screams out in anguish.
I just look behind me at all the corpses and the desecrated Tsubasa, and I say, "We've lost."
To punctuate Maruk's words, the top of the stone pyramid explodes. Crack! The rest of the pyramid shakes violently.
I keep making my way down as fast as I can, trying to reach Maruk, and then
For my hand up to him to help him down the last short way.
I cover myself as stones and everything are falling from the sky.
It might be best to leave.
You're telling me? As I continue down.
I whistle for my horse.
The beast is skittish, but well trained. A horse comes
Drop the
running
rein.
towards Pulvinus.
I begin running towards the exit with my hand up like this. In a matter of moments, Mirage is by me. I, in one action, swing the leg over saddle.
With you in the saddle, a large stone piece of the pyramid falls where you were just a moment ago. It's now raining large stones. As the pyramid, the second layer from the top of the pyramid explodes. More stone gets sent out in a ring around the pyramid.
I grab the rein of my horse, untwine it from the tree branch, shaking my head in anguish. No! Gets onto the horse. Come. Gets it to carry him out.
Yeah, I'm on my horse, pushing him as fast as I can. Let's head toward the canyon. We should be safe over there. And
I'm stopped a little bit ahead of them and making sure that Alaric is able to get clear and say, "I agreed," and begin to gallop out of the Tsubasa.
I let my horse do the bidding of Pulvinus, too exhausted to even worry about himself. Just lays himself over the horse in a hunched manner as the horse carries him along. barely hanging on.
The middle layer of the ziggurat, the third step, explodes. A bigger explosion now, more material being flung as the entrance to the deep beckons just feet away.
I grab Horatio from my shoulder and I put it like on the pommel of my saddle in front of me, crouching a bit over him as I press my oars.
I just say, even the Tsubasa is not immune to the inevitability of the Danaradi.
What is that crazy desert man saying now? Horatio says.
Let's worry about that later. We lost a lot of friends today.
With an interval much shorter, the second lowest of the layers of the pyramid explodes. And then immediately after, a thundering explosion as pieces of this massive stone structure are flung like children's toys, crushing the remnants of the oasis and sealing right behind the horses, Alaric's horse as it gets into the deep. Large multi-ton pieces of stone crashing in, dust flowing into the entrance, sealing it from the outside.
Finally, like,
Brace my horse.
stop my horse, take a breather. I go close to Maruk, put my horse next to his. I put my hand on his shoulder and I say, "My friend, all of your friend went to the embrace of the Great Mother today. I'm sorry for your loss, but rejoice in the fact that tonight they're gonna be in the embrace of the Great Mother. They're gonna feel their love for eternity."
Do you think that the destruction of the ziggurat was the purpose of all this?
I shake my head. I don't know, Maruk. We would only know if we knew of his intentions of this whole thing. What is this man trying to do?
Maruk, you knew about this oasis before. Your men came here before, maybe yourself, haven't you?
Yes.
Was this ziggurat
Yes.
there already? Is that a structure that was recent or that had been raised from somewhere?
No, it had always been part of the Tsubasa.
Do you know anything about it? Of its history?
Only that it is sacred. Sorry.
Well,
Because
Don't know
Alaric,
much about it.
we can see that one of the symbol, a seal has been broken. We can assume that the Sultan's mage, this is the Sultan mage probably that did that. He was trying to release this sphere of blackness.
Yes, I remember you mentioning some sort of prayer seal when we were inside of the deep, looking at those glyphs.
the ones that mentioned the iron
Steel-
pillars.
Iron
Yeah.
pillars, yes. Do you think that that massive beam was a iron pillar? That doesn't sound right.
That doesn't sound right. But with sometime with those old translation, there's a lot of like allegories.
Thousands of years of difference between our language and theirs.
Horatio licks his paws. Plus, you humans never get to the point. Starts washing himself.
An iron pillar sounds like something stable, the beginnings of a structure, whereas this was almost the antithesis of building anything.
Well,
I doubt that the mage is gonna come back here.
unless he plans on moving these huge structures out of the way himself. Which
Unless what he sought was underneath the ziggurat, and the whole point was to carve it all away so that he could loot its treasures.
could be a possibility.
I do not know what else he has to gain by desecrating our holy place like this. He's a member of the Najima, or at least in title. Why would he do something that would anger the Najima so, if he is a representative of the Sultan? It
I
is
don't
sure to
think
cause a great response.
I think his mind has been corrupted. Maybe the minds of the sultans as well. It's worrisome.
That we don't know. We haven't gone there yet, so our correspondence had been so long.
Up until this moment, I only saw it as ambition. Perhaps you're right. Maybe there's something supernatural affecting his behavior.
Let's get moving.
Agreed.
Let's get back to some... Do you know some kind of semblance of safe place around Maruk? Where we can water the house and lick our wounds?
Perhaps we could certainly return back to the watering hole we were at.
That's probably the closest
That would be a
place.
few hours. If you'd like to continue your journey towards the center of the desert, it's quite a ride until the next safe harbor. Perhaps we can use the entrance deep as a temporary shelter. We will be relying on our skins, though.
I dismount off the horse finally, slumping to the ground. Grab the horse. Let's proceed. Let's go.
I will walk your horse for you, mage. Please rest on top of it until it is necessary that you dismount.
I get back up onto it. Slumping over the saddle.
Dismounting myself and grabbing onto the reins of both of our horses. Begin to walk down the path.
I imitate Maruk with my own horse.
Get us through the deeps, Maruk. We're in your hands.
A pale bioluminescence lights the dark, cavernous deep. A highway that runs underneath the desert, under the dunes, made of a curious stone, seamless, not cobblestone. The horse's hooves, loud, echoing through the large cavern. Easily 6 men abreast could walk on this cavern. A rasping sound ahead. A fountain, one of the fountains that you'd used previously, but instead of water pouring out the wall, sand filling and overflowing the fountain. No water to be found. The highway divides this underground secret passage to the right, back from whence you came, from where you had first entered the deep, and to the left, deeper into the trackless desert, towards its heart, the heart of the Najm.
I put my hand in the sand fountain, and I grab like a little handful of sand, and I shake my fist, throw it to the ground. I say, could that have been the goal of the Sultan Mage? Try to kill the Tsubasa, try to dry up the desert. How can life can be sustained in this without water?
This will be a major blow to every creature that does not feast on the water inside the living.
I think he points. I point over to the entrance from where we came from. He said, "That is where I sent our adversary. If we continue on through here, Maruk, do we gradually reach possibly the Sultan's city? Maybe we have to go ahead and talk to him and find out if he's any part of this, or if this is Sorcerer's own machination."
Maruk, I rub my chin, deep thought, sour look on my face. I say, "It is quite the gamble, mage. The only one less welcome than me in the Sultan's chambers is the two of you, being agents of the boy king."
We may have to go in disguise if we do, but if this is affecting them, we must know.
What about your men, Maruk?
We are not men that would go up against a fortified city.
That's not
Castle
what I
guard.
was. That's not what I had in mind. Do you have a way to communicate with them? Do you have a network of?
Yes,
some
and it
sort?
is rather important that I do soon. If this is to be the state of the water in the desert.
Yes, we need. That's what I'm worrying about. We need to know if other Tsubasa have been affected.
Yes. Those sorts of questions need to be answered by my agents.
Do you have birds to send or something?
Horatio's head picks up. Birds? I wouldn't mind a bird right now.
I wouldn't mind if you were a bird right now.
Claws at your arm, then jumps down from the horse, trots off into the gloomy, dimly lit corridor, then stops and turns. Well, look at this. He points at a pile of manure, horse manure, in the middle of the corridor.
I go close to the
What's
manure.
that doing there?
I approach the manure and I put my hand over, like I take off my glove and I put my hand over it to gauge how warm it is, how fresh it is.
Horatio looks at you in alarm. You're not going to touch it, are you? Yes, it's still warm. Don't touch it. Oh, gross. I think I let you pet me.
What do you think
Still
I bet you?
slightly warm.
I've been dropped not too long ago.
Horatio darts into the further down the corridor. There's another one. Oh, you better not show the desert man this.
What's happening, Horatio?
Well, remember those people that they had that funeral service? Looks like more of them are here. Horatio's small cat voice echoes.
Walk up to the to witness what the cat is speaking of.
A fellow defender of the holy desert lies there, body broken, trampled to death.
What would do this? The horses trampled their own riders? Some other group, perhaps. I look at the bruises on the dead body. Try to gauge what sort of creature would step on him.
notice.
You'll notice.
Alvinus, do you
I
have
crouch.
any way
Yes.
to talk to these?
Yes, Maruk, if you allow me.
8.
Success, Maruk.
I crouch to the dead body. Sorry.
The a horse, a riding horse, cavalry horse. The unlike the hooves of your horses, these horses were shod. They were heavy cavalry.
Potentially it's the Sultan's men or some other military power.
I lean
That
over
would
to
be
the body
unlikely.
and I say, if you allow me, Maruk. I put my hand on his forehead. I say a
I
prayer.
put my hand on his shoulder and I say, he needs to go on his journey still.
He will go, don't worry. I'm not gonna keep him here long.
It's
A small
reluctantly
cat's
step
paw.
back.
Cat bumps his head against your shin, Maruk. Giving you some attention.
I just ignore it. Shift my
Persists.
leg away.
Polvinus, over the corpse.
I look at Maruk for a sign of approval or not. I don't want to be disrespectful to your culture, Maruk.
Dire time. It's a dire situation.
I admire your pragmatism. And I say that, Great Mother, allow me to connect to this soul so he can answer some question for us. And then I look at I see like a semblance of life coming back to the face of the dead.
The chest doesn't rise. Very little breath escapes the lips, caked in blood as they are. A faintest whisper.
Who killed you?
Again. Sultan's men. Wind to take them. Desecrators of the desert. Not men.
How many of them?
A full troop. 100 riders. We had
How many of
no
your friends
plans.
fell? What happened to your friends?
They wrote us all down. We all sleep in the wind.
In what direction did they go?
I say, enough. Put my hand on his shoulder.
The corpse.
We
goes
could track
slowly.
100 men. Let him go on his journey.
The body became inert again.
As it
And I said,
becomes
I-
inert, the last words echo again. Not men.
May the great mother embrace you.
This bodes well. Bodes not well.
The cat looks up at you. Bodes well. What kind of nonsense is this?
I am tired, cat. I've just spent so much energy just in these last moments. It's hard for me to even think straight.
Horatio jumps up on Polvinus's shoulders. The mage looks like he's about to topple.
Keep an eye on him.
Why would the Sultan employ the Arakeen? Do you think they must?
No,
be
I don't think.
speaking
I
of
don't think
her?
that's what he was referring to. I think he was referring to those scenting, the same kind of monster that we fought
Yes.
on the ziggurat.
Or worse.
Oh,
Oh.
Worse.
Yeah.
you think 100 of those armored men on heavy horse?
Or it could be something else.
Oh,
But they were not. This man has not been trampled by lizard, so I don't know if there would be Arakim. Although Arakim did use horse as well.
That's right. The first ones that we met, Horatio
Yeah, they
says
were eating
helpfully.
the lizard and traded up for a horse.
Maybe they were pretending.
I wish we could have seen if those horses were shoved. Maybe they were Sultan men.
they were a gift from the Sultan and likely shot.
That would explain why those Arakim had horses. Scouting party, maybe.
I must speak with my men. I must speak with the Nakabayashi.
Let's get to your people as soon as possible.
And we'll need to find water for the horse.
We can
Looks-
track these men and probably run across one of the Nakabayashi on our way.
I take my water skin. I take the tiniest sip. Let's see.
I reach down and put my hand underneath his, behind his collar, pull out a colorful scarf, and then stash it into a saddlebag. This will identify him to his family.
Very interesting customs you have, Maruk. It's too bad.
The scarf does not deteriorate in the sand.
Oh, is that so?
Only our lives.
Lead the way, Maruk. I'm sorry for all the men you lose. If we can help you put an end to this madness, that will serve both our purpose.
Don't worry for them. They're on their own journeys. Begin to pull Alaric's horse and my own once again down the pathway, dodging the frequent piles of manure.
Yeah.
Tell you, if we go to the Sultan's city, we may get answers if we can get in there without raising eyebrows. I must see what that sorcerer has been up to, what his studies have been, in order to figure out exactly what his plan is. So strange.
Getting the city is not a problem. We
No.
can find a door open. I can always ask the Great Mother to make us invisible to the living eyes.
The Sultan employs many agents within the city's populace. Be careful with your words while we're inside.
The mysterious workings of this ancient deep shrink the distances on the surface, allowing for travel to be faster, a great boon to the desert people that know their secrets. Up ahead, the deep diverges, paths going different ways. The secret script and signs left by the Nakabayashi there, indicating to the deep desert, to the Sultan's palace. The frequent piles of dung continue towards the deep desert, off on this other tangent, an empty deep that heads towards the Sultan's keep.
It's time for us to make our decision.
We need to get to your men, Maruk, before we do any other move. And we need to rest as well. I need to pray.
Agents of the Nakabayashi are throughout the desert. They will be less likely to be towards the center, as it is much more hostile there. But we have a few.
Then let's continue. Let's go with your people then first. Take up our rest, and then we will make our way to the Sultan City. Is that what our plan is now? Very well.
I'm more convinced now that it is more than ambition that is guiding the Sultan. It's employing these beasts as soldiers.
I think it's time for your men to take another course of action other than staying on the outskirts. You may have to go ahead and convince them to combine and aid us when we have time for their need at the right time.
There are lots of different willful personalities in this group. They all have their own agendas.
Yeah,
We're only,
Understood.
we're only united by a respect for the free will.
like the discipline of an army.
We lack the command structure of an army.
Horatio yawns. It's hard to know what time it is in this constant dim light, this underground tunnel. The miles stretch on and on. The horses slow, eventually every step becoming a labor. The hours click by.
Can you get us to water soon, Maruk? Hearing my horse like rasping.
I reach back, grabbing the spare water skin out of the saddlebag, hand it over to Paul Venice with a rather trying arm. Here.
Grab the water skin and say, we also need to keep some for ourselves. I
True.
pull the head of my horse up and I drip like some droplet, just a little bit.
The horse's dry tongue laps greedily at the water.
I open up one of my saddlebags and pull out 3 more of those large green fruits that I had cracked open previously. I say, these will keep your horse for the night.
Oh, thank you, Maruk.
I hand one to Alaric.
My dagger. I cut
They don't taste too good, but you get used to it.
Split it open for the horse.
The horses dive into the gourds that have been split, lapping up the fluid. It's not much, but it being a fruit of the desert quenches the thirst. Soon the horses are asleep on their feet.
Perhaps we should make a camp here.
Yes, yes.
I help Alaric down from his horse.
Slump.
Easy, old man. Or mage. realizing he's not really that much older,
Maruk.
seemingly.
Sleep comes to your exhausted forms, except for those who don't need to sleep.
Yeah.
In which case, they have time to ruminate on what has happened and pray and connect with their deity of choice, or in the case of Horatio, himself. And travel continues the next day and the next. 3 days pass, reaching closer and closer to the Sultan's keep. On the eve of the third day, at your estimation, a group of men whistle hidden in the deep as Maruk passes by, a signal.
Quickly turn to Maruk.
Whistle
You
out.
heard that?
I whistle out an answering call.
One of your brothers comes out. He looks nervously at Alaric and Polvinus.
The
Brother.
lips are all like flaky, like the skin is flaking off of them. Dead sand caking my face. I say, brother, good to see you. Voice raspier than normal.
So, you need help, brother. We have supplies. Who are these? He points to these outsiders. Are they friends of the Danaradi?
Friends, yes.
We have supplies for them too.
Your
It's dangerous.
hospitality will be
Thank you.
most appreciated.
We've been gathering men. Word has come that the Subasa have been attacked.
It is destroyed.
Our people have destroyed.
Along with
impossible.
many sources of water within the deep
Brother, he whispers,
south.
so the outsiders cannot hear. Brother, the wells, the water sources, they're disappearing. It's chaos. The Sultan's keep is in disarray. The people flee. They say that all the water is gone.
I do not know if you heard, but the Sultan's mage is responsible. He lives. in
That
flesh.
dog! No one has seen the Sultan in weeks now. We were planning an assassination. Me and my kin.
I'm beginning to think he's nothing but a puppet for the mage.
Perhaps
We were hoping he
you
could
seek
be used
answers
as a
at his
tool.
keep. We can resupply you.
Yes. Over here, Alaric, Polvinus.
I step closer.
Move the horse over towards.
6 hard-looking men emerge from the shadows.
The little bow.
They return the gesture. Each of them then greet Maruk.
I'm Polvinus from Viter. And this is
They
our
introduce
mage,
themselves.
Alaric.
Very
You're
nice to meet
cousins
you.
of Maruk, they say. Cousins from the desert. Please allow us to tend to your horses. One of them looks, and pet?
Don't worry about the cat.
Hey, what do you mean, don't worry about me? Yeah, what are they offering? What?
He's a spirit. He needs nothing. I just start walking.
Don't
Horatio
wait
turns to
to
Maruk.
choose the stores.
They water gourds resupplied. Well, brother, if you must, the Sultan's keep is half a day's travel along the road. But the city is in disarray.
If I
So-
may, what do you know about those the Sultan hiring Anakin or not men?
We
as troops.
We've not heard of any such things, but about 2 weeks ago, we attempted to sabotage the Sultan's army's food supply. My cousin said that he had been successful, yet we saw no bodies carried out.
I turned to Maruk.
Akeem
Maybe
will
it's
eat.
worse than Akim.
The Anakim are cannibals. It's possible that they ate them or prepared them.
They ate the body, they die. They're dead. That's barbaric.
It is.
Well, with the city in disarray, may be to our advantage. But we're going to have to go not as we seem.
Yes.
Forgive
perhaps-
me, but you foreigners, you do stand out.
Perhaps we can garnish some clothing. We're willing to pay, of course.
Well, even
You're with
we don't have
Maruk.
the skin tone.
They mean no
Neither
offense.
you nor I.
We can guard
offer-
them as
to
the
offer,
Najima if you wish, Maruk.
To offer Nakabayashi payment for his hospitality is considered an insult.
Yes.
They don't know.
We
they
are
don't
no
know any-
mercenaries. Our blades are not for hire. We serve only the eternal wind.
We need to find the Sultan.
We have secret passages we've been working on. I can give you a guide, Maruk.
I think first rest.
Yes.
Well, please join our camp. They have a small, very, very small fire set up. Some food, dried dates, and other small foodstuffs.
The food is welcome to a nice change from the travel ration that we've been eating.
The conversation around the fire is subdued, but they pass along the message. The Sultan is a true tyrant, ambitious, and a violent man, but not one that has been seen openly for quite some time. He gives no audience. Yet his recruiters go out to the desert to press gang the Najima into his growing army, a growing army that seems to consume no food.
Have you met any of the Najima in the Sultan's attire, or has that yet to be seen?
We
Perhaps
have had
they-
no success. We have had no success in such regards.
I look at Maruk and say, if there's a draft, if people are convicted against their will, there should be deserter.
Agreed, and yet there has been none.
May I propose a gambit? They sit up a little bit, take a drink of water to try and soothe my vocal cords. If the Sultan is not seen, still holds authority, perhaps there is a way through secrecy we can perform some sort of coup and take control of the official authority of the city, the kingdom, taking the place of the Sultan.
Is there some?
There's something like that in your capabilities, High Mage?
I can only do what I can. I can.
That
I
doesn't
I
suit too
won't
well
go.
with me, Maruk.
What is it?
Nobility and hierarchy. There's rules to be observed. There's Tyrants need to be when a monarch doesn't care for his people anymore, need to be replaced. But there's a line of succession. Isn't
See,
there like somebody in this line of succession that would be like a suitable ruler for your people?
you don't share
There's
the ideals of pragmatism as much as me, then, Paul Venus.
the whispers in the desert tongue, of course, understood by all, but the whispers of the other men. Oh, they keep glancing at Maruk.
I say, everyone here speaks Naji.
We would unite behind you, brother. All the desert clans recognize you and your success. You are the greatest of us.
But a visible coup would not garner the loyalty of the armies.
We've suffered
is-
under the yoke of this man too long.
That is, if the armies are men.
But they all.
I've
they
never
all
heard
go-
of an army without deserter, especially not one that is conscripted.
They nod at Paul Venus's words.
Mm,
None of our men that we have snuck into the army have reported back.
Remember what your dead friend said, Maruk. Not men.
I am almost certain that the Arakim have become the shock troops of the Sultan's mage, mounted on heavy cavalry. This is not an army that can be controlled if they're under the control of this mage. They would have to be dispatched. Perhaps this is just a fool's errand, after all.
Some pipe weed is passed around as the dinner is cleaned up. The small fire is extinguished.
I pass
Rough
on
blankets are laid down.
pass on the pipe. I say, my throat is already too hot.
Soon the desert warriors are sleeping.
I go next to Alaric, sit next to him, and I lean over. I say, like, Alaric, I feel like I'm speaking in Viteri. I say, I feel like we are deviating from our goal here. I don't know.
Floundering even. Yes, but there's some answers that could be gotten if we can get into the sanctum of the sorcerer. Be able to figure out his plan and how far he's gotten.
If he is behind the Aratu,
He definitely has the power. And I have been thinking, they have a word for the creatures that we had encountered before. I was thinking, if this man who you had divined back into semi-life, giving us answers to the questions that you entrusted with him, if he said these are not men, shouldn't he have referred to them as the creatures as they know as the Anakim?
Anakim. That's what I thought as well. You would have just said Anakim. And I don't know.
I am thinking that these creatures may be from the other side of what we saw. Perhaps beyond that void. Maybe even worse, from other worlds. We must get more answers.
Maruk is grooming his Mirage a little bit down the hallway, unable to hear.
I think
Maybe, yeah.
I think perhaps we should convince our friend Maruk that maybe he should take more of a responsible role with his men. They are all willing to follow him.
I'm not here to put an usurper on the throne. If the Sultan has been corrupted and needs to be dealt with, that's one thing. But then it should go to the line of succession.
We will see who's left.
Maybe if we
First.
can get, maybe if the poison come from the Eye Mage, maybe just get rid of him and do it, put thing back in place. Maybe the tyrant could, with the Sultan would come back to his senses.
I dare not call him a high mage, more of a cunning and evil sorcerer. Nothing I saw in him resembles anything of what we high mages hold in high regard anymore.
Let's go investigate the city and see what the situation is. Tomorrow. And I go to find a place to lie down with Horatio. Spend the night comfortable, thinking about the whole thing, praying.
Engage in restless sleep. The weight of responsibility.
I take my cowl.
In the morning, the kin, Maruk's brothers of the Nakabayashi, the Order of the Reed, wish you a safe journey. Top up the supplies they can. Give final directions, and then the journey continues. Right
As,
up to the.
as I shake the hand of the man in charge, Cato, I say, Cato, any agents you can spare for the Sultan's, for the city, would be greatly appreciated. I'll only call upon them if necessary.
They all step forward. We volunteer.
Make your way into the city on your own, not as a group.
Agreed. They break camp and
Hug Cato.
race off ahead, bowing deferentially to you. Knowing this way, these halls well, they move quickly ahead. A half a day's travel was told. That's all it'll take to bring to close the distance between you and the Sultan's keep.
Lead the others.
The
Lead
travel
away.
continues. A few the deep is still empty. These hidden passages that are a well-kept secret for the people of the Nakabayashi eventually open up, revealing the Sultan's city, nestled within the desert, deep. Coming up there, the normal sounds that would permeate the large city are wrong. Carrion birds fly overhead. One of the advanced scouts returns, breathless, eyes wide. Maruk, the city.
Yes, what is it?
The city, it's empty.
How could this be?
Once been to the
Quick, I'll show you. He
Take
heads
off,
off on a
yelping.
run.
Yeah, I get off my horse and I follow suit after Maruk.
I say, let me give you a ride.
He jumps up.
And I offer my
Behind.
arm, help pull him up behind me.
Mirage carries his weight easily, racing into the city.
I boost my horse into journeying along behind them. Must get me over towards the sanctum of the sorcerer as soon as we possibly can.
The city reeks of rotting hot flesh,
Oh,
Dogs tear at corpses on the street. A major battle, a slaughter, not a battle. The populace of the city decimated, no one around. Dogs wandering the streets, carrion birds overhead.
I look at
No
the corpse around.
soldiers, pickets, horses. Empty.
Those corpses are not fresh. Like, there wouldn't be any use to ask question to them. They've been there
Torn
too long.
away by the carrion birds. They're already rotting under the merciless heat of the sun. The scout
Something happened
continues
here.
towards the actual keep, the fastness of the Sultan. We'll show
Look
you what
around.
we
I
found.
say, this is not the Anakim.
He stops at one of the parapets and gestures out over the trackless desert. A vast army on the move, he says. Dust rises. So a large army heads out, heading west towards Viter. But then he turns around, leads you to an opposite parapet. This looks very bad, he says, as he points towards the horizon, where an ominous black pillar of sand rises from the desert, from the deep desert,
Well,
building and building.
This is no storm I've ever seen before. Maybe
Nor I, brother.
the form is too distinct.
Yeah, this is the natural form. The only thing closer that I saw was what we saw the ziggurat at the
You
oasis.
have to remind me.
I'm sorry.
The Sultan's
No,
keep, the
you're
main
right.
gates to the Sultan keep open. Some of the other scouts come out, claws covering their face against the stench of the rotting, decaying city. Once the jewel of the desert, now nothing but a large abattoir for the dead.
quickly, let's make our way up to the Sorcerer's Sanctum.
It's this way, Alaric. I begin
Yes,
to
I think this is
I've been there before.
The
move
leader
towards
of
center town.
the desert warriors comes up. You should see this, brother Maruk. He leads you towards the Sultan's throne room. There, in an opulent throne, lies the Sultan.
Well, I suppose the coup is already happened.
I go
All
lean
but
down
us.
under
The
the
scouts come rushing in. His face white, pale. Looks sick. I found the barracks, he says. There's something
Yeah.
very wrong here.
Alaric, do you know where that mage's
Yes.
sanctum is? I must go see what is wrong. Are you okay?
Alaric,
I'm-
I'll go with you to the sorcerer chamber.
Very well. And I ride off with the
He leads you down to where the main marshalling grounds are for the growing Sultan's army. He goes, it's over here. He leads Maruk. A large stone structure, a stone pyramid, but miniaturized. On the top of it, all on the sides of it, a black fluid is congealed, coating the sides.
is it blood?
He
Look at it.
nods.
Some kind of
God.
altar.
Yes.
I get off my horse. I take a look around.
The
Damn, the 400 steps up to the
Mage's
Sorcerer's
Sanctum's
Sanctum.
door is the Sorcerer's Sanctum is closed. A large brass door circular patterns on the outside lies before.
Come on, mage.
Shh. Trying to recall from long ago the process of his entry. Using some effort. It's my arcane lexicon and my memory tracing over the patterns as they would as a high mage to open the door.
Go ahead and make your skill check.
Ten.
With a grinding sound, the doors open, revealing a dark chamber beyond. Shelves line the walls, candles that have burned right down to the end of their wicks, spilling wax around the candelabras.
I go forth towards his inner sanctum, towards his books, his journals.
Scrolls.
Start peeling them open and looking through them all, scouring them for his plan.
I put my hand on my eyes and I pray to the Great Mother. I say, like, give me the sight to see magic and see in the dark.
One of the tones bursts into light in your view, Pulvinus. It glows on the shelf.
I go reach at it. I pull it out, look at the cover.
A skull, a human skull, has been inlaid in the cover of this thick leather tome. A book on high necromancy.
Oh, that's kind of in my alley.
One of the
Would you-
pages is somewhat dog-eared from frequent reference.
What
Start
what
like-
have you spotted there, Pulvinus?
Come see, Alaric. That's a Tome of Necromancy.
Obviously, but
This page seemed to have like seen a lot of like use. It's been marked by use.
The page, this text on the page is maddening. It describes a necromancer of a previous age, one of the outsiders, that discovered a secret to create his own army, an army that never would eat nor sleep nor disobey any order, an army free of deserters. A perfect army.
This is perversion of like the gift that the Great Mother gave us.
and then some. Man, just reading these words is giving my head a bit of a. I
It
must
is
rest
maddening
for a
to me.
moment.
This is blasphemy.
Yes.
But we might have like our answer to what's happening to this, where this army come from.
There on the desk, underneath the tomes of arcane knowledge from ages past, is a modern map. A map of Viterre, with notes on it written, showing an advance of some large force marching or targeting the capital and the boy king. King Leopold sits pampered in his kingdom of easy water and plenty of crops. The only modern tome in this sanctum.
Alaric,
It's
we know
time
the
for us-
Sultan is not involved in this thing.
Yes. It is obviously the sorcerer himself, or should I say, now the necromancer himself has his own plans. And if we must make haste to save our king.
Let's reconvene with Maruk.
I
I don't
nod.
know how we're gonna deal with this army.
Let's
Perfect army that never need to sleep nor eat.
close the volumes, gather them up, taking the evidence with me.
I stick the tome, the necromantic tome in my bag and my back.
Yeah, that is
Horatio.
best to be with you.
Walking along the ledges of the shelves, knocking loose things off the shelf to the floor, down to the table. He stops at one of the books that are left, a scroll that's partially unrolled. He squats on the scroll. Says, "That looks familiar." He paws at it.
I go close. I take the scroll. What is that, Horatio? I look at it.
It is a scale drawing, a blueprint for a stone ziggurat. And there at the top, images of men being marched to the top of the ziggurat and then marching down as ghouls, undead.
This is why necromancy get a dark reputation. Shake the scroll at Alaric.
It's some interesting insight on your culture.
They are robbing the Great Mother for their own purpose. The dead should be... The soul should be left undisturbed.
Baruch.
And only the Great Mother can decide when it's time for men to reach to gain our embrace. Let's go.
I walk around the smaller ziggurat. Say, it looks like the men. I can only assume that the men that are being conscripted are being killed in some way. Perhaps this is where they slit their throats and
This much blood.
do whatever.
Some foul act occurred here. A cry comes from one of your compatriots. So walking along the ramparts of the fastness of the keep. I
What
see
is it?
riders, he says. I see riders coming this way.
I give a short nod to the men near me and hop on to Mirage.
They keep walking around the barracks looking for survivors.
We leap down and begin to ride towards the wall where the man yelled from.
Riders, he says, as you approach. Looks like more of our people. Word is spreading. The Sultan's city is dead.
Going down the sorcerer tower, like step 2 by 2, yelling, "Maruk! Maruk! We got grave news, Maruk."
All right. It seems to be all we have around here.
Well, I hate to be the bearer of bad news. New riders come in.
New
All
riders?
the water is disappearing. It
You
seems to
know-
coincide with that. And he points at the horizon where a large column of sand grows. Blackness surrounding it. Growing. When that happened, our wells dried up. The oases, all of the Subasa are disappearing.
I go close
think
to
it's
I
Maruk.
saw
that.
it firsthand.
Hmm.
The Subasa in the southeast.
There, as the sun starts, the very edges of this massive plume of sand and dark starts to encroach on the burning hot sun above, casting a strange twilight over the desert. On the one hand, heading towards plunder and conquest, an army marches towards Viterre and its green fields, while in the other direction, some unholy supernatural event, some long forgotten terror of the deep, a working that should have stayed broken, something has activated and is destroying the water. And we'll stop there.
It's not looking good. You know,
Intense.
I'm worried.
Oh, are you feeling like
Yeah.
an emotional alignment with your character?
Maybe.
Do we need to call a counselor? Are you going to be
Were
okay?
you? Yeah. Were you?
That's-
Were you immersed? Is
I
that
was,
what you said?
submerged. I was totally submerged.
Are now
Yeah.
immersed.
Man,
Ooh, the choices we have.
I
Oh.
know.
Yeah.
And we're pretty much going to
almost-
have opposite choices. So I'm not sure how that's going to play out.
This may
Yeah.
mean
So what's it going to be?
split of the party.
There's kind of an immediate threat, but then there's the other threat.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh, how to save Viterre? How to save the Najm? How to return the water?
I mean, yeah. I don't know.
Not even sure if like getting rid of the Sultan would do anything, of the sorcerer would do anything. I don't know.
Definitely, it's the guy that's doing it all. But
We cannot go against an army either.
yeah.
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 At
Anyways,
least we,
Rogarm.
what'd you
have
think,
some-
Crispy? Did you like it?
I thought it went okay. I
Yeah.
was all right. I stumbled a little bit on descriptions from time to time, but it's I think it went
Almost,
okay.
I almost
overall.
kicked the cat.
I know. I thought you would too. I was waiting for you to kick the cat. I'm trying to use the cat because it is kind of heavy, so I was using the cat as a little bit
Yeah.
of comedic relief. You know, walking along the wizard's or the evil sorcerer's shelves, knocking things off the shelf just randomly.
Maruk needs to go home and get his family and go to freaking Viterre.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. So
There's no water anymore, guys.
There's no water anymore, so now you're gonna have
It'll
like
be
a bunch of
tough.
refugee to Viterre.
Yeah.
that's right. That's right.
We're gonna
Well,
we're
what are you
flooding.
going to do? Like, well, what can you
the
can you
first
reverse
world.
it? What happened? So,
We're
yeah.
flooding the West with refugees.
Exactly. With
Hey, I
some
thought you
people.
did. I thought you did well. I thought you did. Somebody did really well when I did the whirlwind attack of the bad guy that did
Yeah.
shock to everyone
Yep.
around him, and I think it was you, Phil. You were like, "Oh, so I used my,
Yeah, with my
training and I
martial training. Yep.
Close combat.
able to get close combat to get away."
But
Yeah,
that's the
that was
thing when we're
good.
talking about like system that impede or help role play more. I think this is the kind of thing that we talk about, right? Because like, even though I think we're doing pretty good, right?
Mhm.
But there's some things sometimes like well, you have to ask for a save or stuff like that, or like we have to kind of signal like about okay, there's gonna be shock damage because you said like
Yeah.
it's important because like for me, I need to know if it's damage or shock damage, right?
Mhm.
Because it's gonna impact what happened to me.
Yeah, it does, and you need to know that. And like a few times there, I was calling for saving throws, and I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't seem to be too much of a break to be like, yeah, make a
Yeah,
evasion saving throw.
calling for save is not too much of a break.
Yeah.
But like, and again, like sometimes like when we have to express that we're using an ability or stuff like that,
Mhm.
like with the spell, I cast a few spell, and we went.
I
in
still
this
think the
game with,
spells are working great. Like I really
do
like
too.
the spells.
They're
I like.
interesting. I that could have backfired on me like horrendously. Of course, if I had failed, it would have been the opposite. You would have seen me disappear. So
Speaking of someone who has no
Crazy.
idea what the hell magic's doing, It's really like miraculous every time something happens.
It is.
like that.
Yeah, it is.
It's like, whoa, you're doing what?
Yeah, I did
And
some
I
times.
like the
I
little
did some
interaction
time
we had
pages.
when I was about
Yeah, you
to
did.
talk with the dead, right? Where you're just like,
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Yeah, I really like that interaction too. I like that. I also liked later how I kind of called you out on your lack of pragmatism.
Yes.
I thought that was cool.
Well,
Yeah.
that's also something interesting about like when you're guys, like I was thinking, Paul Venus like is it of the nobility, so
Yeah.
like that's kind of important for him, the whole
Mhm.
succession.
Sure.
So I decided, that's gonna be a problem with your guys saying like, well, you should deserve the throne. I said, well, wait, like,
Oh yeah, I kept
Whoa,
doing
whoa,
that too.
whoa,
Hey,
whoa,
like I
whoa.
kept on
But-
being like, well, we would follow Maruk. He's a veteran. He's a hero.
You're
Follow
right.
him.
I'm pretty great.
So
No, but I found it interesting because like that's when we went with this fantasy setting and we kind of decided, we never like really did magic in our session, and that's a question that we had how we do it. So that's why like Rick and I are playing mage and stuff like that, like to some extent, like Rick more than me.
It's
Yeah,
really
okay.
incredible. Every time it happens, it's like
Well,
it's
I
like
mean,
Hollywood special effects going off in my head. And it's
that was good.
yeah,
as hell.
I'm glad. That's
you
great.
could do the same thing with like the D&D kind of thing. You just have to phrase it differently, or
describe
add
it.
the description to it, what you're doing, and not just spewing out a bunch of
Yeah,
text
that's
out of a
that's what I've been
page.
trying to do. Like not just say like, oh, I cast Query the Skull, and now I can communicate with a corpse.
Yeah, I liked
Yeah.
how you did
I
that,
kinda-
Max.
I
thought
feel
you
like
did that great.
the way you guys attach like emotion, like it's like a lot of times there's like an emotional thing. It was like you were doing magic as almost an emotional response to the situation, or you tied something to it that your character was going through.
Yeah,
I
Rick
thought that
is doing like, very well with that.
really
Yeah.
made it pop.
I decided my guy like is going the religious angle, so like
Yeah,
I try to
yeah,
make
that was
the-
cool. Like you'd have these like moments of like, I don't know, it's fucking cool.
Yeah.
Yes,
Even though like there's not like a proper like, there's no like really cleric involved with our number. It's just
Sure.
like the magic user, but then you can like flavor it as you will. So that's what I did, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, what is the praise skill for then? I don't know.
Well, yeah, it's a good question. I mean, there is vowed, so it's close to kind of a cleric, sort of,
And a healer is too.
and a
as well.
healer,
And a healer,
is kind of a cleric. So
I landed an attack.
you did.
That's
You
good.
did
Yeah,
great. Yeah, you went
I
around.
kind of
flanked him.
4D'd that it was poison. I hope that wasn't too much of a
No, that was
cheating-
good. That was good. I liked it. That was great. Yeah, and
I
I like
poisoned
the
it the
I
day
like the
before.
gourds that you used. Like you're like, yeah, I
Yeah.
go in and we
Yeah.
have
Good.
these special,
Yeah.
melons.
Like a
that-
breadfruit cactus.
Yeah,
kinda how I
yeah, like
imagine
some kind of cacti that you could
Yeah.
use for. I thought that was great. I thought it was good.
When
yeah.
like later on, before you did it, actually, and this is kind of this weird thing where both our minds were in sync.
Uh-huh.
I just liked your idea. One of those things. Where like I was thinking, oh, I should have had like a really good whistle that goes on the wind. That
yeah,
can go for like miles.
yeah,
and then
yeah.
you said you hear a whistle, and I'm like, oh, fuck yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I do.
Nice. We get that flow state going. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it was-
right.
that was really badass.
Exactly.
I was like,
Yeah,
that was just
I
one of
like
those
that.
cool things that happened.
But to reply to your question, like the praise skill is like allows a character to know about religion.
Mhm.
Oh, so it's like a
That's how I've been using
religious
it.
knowledge skill.
Yeah, it's like
And so,
basically that's
like
what
the
it is, yeah.
sigil top of the ziggurat. That
Okay.
was
Yeah.
figuring out those.
Just
Yeah,
kind of
especially
a
now, like it's like
catch-all for
necromancy and
religious
stuff like that, right? That
skills.
would be like right in my alley.
Mhm, mhm.
Like it.
Yeah, I thought that was good. How did that work? Like I was trying to make it be at least the beginning, kind of a time pressure thing. There's something going on. It's got to be moving quick, and then then after the fight, and Rick, that was awesome when you teleported him away. By the way, I was like, oh crap.
I was really hoping I'd catch him
I
before
had
he
kind of, like,
had
in my
the spell.
defense, I
Ah.
did say, like, he did turn around and said, "You're too late." Like, so he's like, okay, so he's
Yes.
already done his thing, but then you just
Yep.
disappear. And you're like, oh
I gotta
crap! I
get
spent all
him
that
outta
time
here
reading
now.
about his spells, and I was like, okay, this is all cool. Yeah, he's gone. He's just gone.
That's funny.
That was pretty
Yeah.
cool.
But
And also like I don't know how the fight would have gone. Like we might have got our ass kicked or something like that, or he might have teleported himself away after
Yes.
doing his stuff. Right? That's
yeah,
probably like so. But
that
just
was
to, like,
initially what
interrupt
I
you.
was going with. I was going to be like, he does this, and then he
Yeah.
steps into the blackness. Boom. And then that's where I had originally thought. I was going, okay, so he's not going to stand and fight against the three of you, or 4, because you got the undead guy to come and help. I thought that was cool. So he was just going to step into that, but he didn't even get a chance because Rick just like, you're out of here, you out. And so Rick sends him on his way.
I had like a real issue. Like my character did not want to engage this apocalyptic super wizard.
Yeah.
I was like, you want me to throw a knife at this dude?
But it's funny. Like,
and then
even
he
though
started
he's strong,
like flying him.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
I thought that was like a really cool scene when he teleports him and then it fades out like as I'm drifting into this oblivion.
I'm glad we're talking about the combat, because there is something I am actually leaning towards. Like, I like it when it's certainly in combat. I prefer it when you're describing your successes, like too. Like, I know that we had agreed that you were going to describe your failures, and I would describe the successes. But I'm like, you know what? I kind of like the creativity of the players for their successes. So at some point in that, I was just saying success, and then I was waiting. And I know that's violating the social contract that
I think
we
I just
decided
did it.
on.
I didn't even realize.
Yeah, and I was
when
like,
I
but it just
finally
kinda
did a combat
feels-
attack.
So I was like, I don't know. Like, sometimes maybe I should insert something, and then other times, especially if it's like a killing blow, because how would you know? And then, but on other times, I'm like, you know what? It'd be kind of cool if they describe, instead of me just saying roll damage. Like
this is something we need to. I think because around the table, right? Usually, like I never did this. One side is going to describe success, one side is going to describe a failure. So I never did that when I'm around a real table, like a physical table, because but I find it's much easier the flow of conversation can go much easier from one to the other, because now we have to be more mindful of interruption and stuff like that. And usually, like, I just go like, well, if you have something cool to describe, go ahead and do it, right? And then if it takes a long time and it's blank, then I'll add something, or I'll put some description. But
right.
If you want to take the initiative, go do. But online, that might not work so well. Maybe if we can find a way to communicate,
Yes,
success, failure, that blow, or something like that. Maybe that's something we can lean into and just say, like,
we should try that. Like,
Well, I like the way Rick did it in Ghastly Crusades, where he just kind of like said one-word descriptions of the effect of your attack, and then like you get to fill it in and
fill it in.
Yeah.
Something did happen this session.
See, like devastating
blow, or like killing blow. I remember. Yeah, Rick was doing that. That might be a solution.
Maybe
I like to describe some of them, so I don't want to be completely out of it. And I do think that I should be describing successes, but.
Well, you also can describe like a
ultra combo,
just a monster, right? You also have the monster. You can, like, if you do the success and failure of our character, then you can do the success and failure of the monster.
Yeah. So I just handle the NPC side of things completely, and then you handle the PC side. I just say success or failure, or we could use gradations of success too. Like, if you really beat it, then it's like, astounding success, or whatever, whatever.
Well, is there like it depends also the system. In this system, there really
isn't, because there's no criticals either.
Exactly.
But what I wanted to say, which was so exciting, and if anyone who's still watching, this is really a breakthrough for me. At many times during the game, I could read Rick's body language, and I could read Phil's and Max's, and so I could tell they were like, because I was normally I talk too much, but I could see that Rick was getting ready to say something, and I was paying closer attention, and I was paying closer attention to everybody, and I'm like, I'm starting to see the nonverbal cues. I've played enough games with these guys that I'm starting to be able to tell when they're done and when they're not done. And there was a couple times where I did interrupt, just because I was like, you know what? I know it's going back and forth with Max and Rick for a while, but I don't want to leave Phil hanging here for too long, because he should be down in the barracks or the marshalling grounds now. He should be there. It's time for him to be able to do something.
I thought that was like an open air like situation. With
that's how I pictured it too.
I thought you were kind of correcting me, and you're like, you're in the barracks. And I'm like, oh,
yeah. And I was like, no, it's like I said, again, that's a shortcoming on my fault. That's my fault, Phil, because I was not as
I
tight
know.
on my description as I was just kind of making it up on the fly, as you know how we do. And I
Yeah.
should have been a little better prepared for that.
But I think
But
we for the interruption also, I think that we get to know each other better.
Mhm.
And we also develop like those kind of rules. Sometimes like we have like a dialogue back and forth between me and Rick, right? And
Yeah.
then at some point like Phil kind of cut in, but that's fair game because that that's what kind of we did. Like okay, we do like 2 back and forth.
Yes.
Then let's give a chance to another character to still exist in the world, right? Still
Yeah.
do something.
And
So I think
you guys did that
right.
well. And I
Yeah.
also thought all of you did a really good job of passing the turn to one another. Like I thought that was good. Like there was one part where you and like Max and Rick were talking in their own language, but Maruk still was there. And so he describes where he is. He's a little ways off. He's brushing down his horse. So he's a little outside of earshot. I thought that was a great anchoring move to brush
Yeah.
down the horse. I thought that was great. Like, okay, so what is he doing? Where is he? He's a little further apart. How far? He's far enough that he's not in earshot. So good enough. Like that was great. But we're doing, and that's something we could probably work on as well, which is passing instead of trying to stick with a round robin, which is starting to feel less
I didn't feel like we were doing it
organic.
at all.
It's starting to feel a little more forced, in my opinion. Like, as we know how each other play a little better now, we can just pass the turn.
I think in combat,
Yeah.
there's still like a use to make sure that everybody can get their turn, right?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
In
I
combat,
was almost, you did it already, Crispy, but I was going to say maybe we should confer with Maruk, which would have brought you to
Right. Yeah. And you did say
downstairs
that.
with
Yeah.
them.
And I unfortunately, I was already on the railroad of I'm going to introduce Phil now. So you were absolutely right. If I had just kept quiet a second longer, it would
I
have
was like,
naturally
oh,
just passed.
yeah.
I seen Phil down there going, ooh, I want to go. Yeah.
Exactly.
My
So
turn.
what about the blood, Crispy?
What about it? What about
The
it?
blood.
The blood. Tell me about the blood. All right. Well, that's good. I think that's decent after action report. We'll talk a little bit about after ending the stream. But thank you for everyone that watched this. We're having a great time exploring this. Who knows? I still think I'd like to see what happens with this. We've tried to create a bit of a dilemma for the party. Which of the imminent threats that is going to end the world, which one do they go after first? And we'll see. Maybe if there's demand, we'll have another one. So let us know. Thanks to everyone who watches this on the replay, and we'll catch you on the next one. All right. So thanks. Please subscribe to 28mm RPG. Of course, Phil the Thrill. Great content there, especially his car videos. Keep it, favorite those.
Really?
Those are good. And Mr. Max, he's now telling you how much he hates spiders. And those Can-Am spiders, are those the ones you're talking about? Because
that's my other channel. That's my personal channel.
That's your personal channel. Well, he's got lots of channels. Why don't you check him out? That's Reactionary Principle Gaming with Max Boivin. I am Table Runner Crispy. Thank you so much. We'll catch you on the next one. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.